Good evening, I'm Eugene Chan and a warm welcome to Straight Talk. Our guest this evening is Legislative Council member for the Technology and Innovation Constituency, the Honourable Mr. Duncan Chiu. A tech entrepreneur and a veteran investor, Mr. Chiu is a leading figure in Hong Kong's T&I sector with over 20 years of experience. Serving as a electrical member since 2022, he has a significant influence on local T&I policies, both chairing and being a member of a range of advisory committees. Duncan has participated and invested in over 100 technology companies and is an experienced professional investor. This evening, we have invited Mr. Chiu to talk to us about Web3 and digital finance and its relevance to the ordinary Hong Kong people like you and me. Welcome, Duncan.
Hello, Eugene. Happy to be here.
Let's start the show by telling people what actually the term Web3. We heard of this all the time and seems to be a very popular term right now.
Yeah, I think there are actually a few clarification or explanation of what Web3 is. For me, I think it's actually anything related to blockchain technology, leveraged by blockchain technology, which is a distributed ledger system. And with that, you can store data. Data of transaction, data of value, data of personal data, or some digital creations. So anything that actually created or under the blockchain system that store value, I would call it part of the Web3.
So in other words, it offers more than the traditional Web 1 and Web 2, so-called?
There's actually two ways of defining it. Web 1, they have people that call Web 3 and also Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is the natural extension of the internet of leveraging blockchain technology that provide an extension of internet offerings. That is what we call Web 3.0. And then there are people that define Web 3 as things related to digital finance, digital assets, virtual assets, what we call in Hong Kong, that actually leveraging blockchain and store value, which things you can invest, like fractionize a building, cryptocurrency, using blockchain to store, let's say, an art piece, that we would define as Web3. So there's still, people trying to define between Web3 and Web 3.0, but I would, to me, Web3 is anything related to digital assets.
Right. For the viewer's interest, what is Web 1 and Web 2 in contrast?
I think Web 1 natural extension is where when internet, the early stage of internet, where there's only a few posts you can access online, and it's more one-way traffic. And then Web 2.0, you see companies like social medias, some trading e-commerce platform, where you have a centralized offerer or company or entity that actually they store a lot of customer data, and there's more interaction between the users and the centralized platform. And then Web 3.0, what we define is with the technology of blockchain, where data can be stored in a distributed network. People try to, we give up the ownership of the data to the people using it. So, from 2.0, where all the data were centralized and owned by several big platforms, when you go to Web 3.0, that will be actually, most of the data were owned by the user themselves.
Right. So when you talk about Web 3.0, I'm sure the viewers will understand now this is a new era. So who are the key industry participants?
Well, there's a lot. I think most of the people are leveraging the new technology by blockchain to think about any options they can extend business. Stakeholders in Web 2.0, they are all extending their business into the new era. Let's say Facebook, they changed the name to Meta, and with the process of that, they're providing services of not a centralized platform, but trying to empower the user to own and contribute and innovate. So that's the power of blockchain. And in terms of finance area, we have digital finance, virtual assets in Hong Kong, and there are different products that people think about. And the right will not be just as bank issuing financial products. We will be empowering, different entities, startups, to issue their own financial products, but with governance and legislation in place.
Right. So with this new Web3, is it closely related, I'm sure, with the cryptocurrencies, I'm sure. But how about with the traditional businesses like financial services, banking, and asset management? Does Web3 has a role to play in that?
Yeah, definitely. I think what we call Web3 is a basket of things. They are like tokenizations, they are cryptocurrency, and they are also the use of blockchain to extend the financial services into different products. So one easy example is the government launched a tokenized green bond earlier this year, amount to 800 million Hong Kong dollar. And with the process, they use blockchain technology to record all the bonds being issued, being traded, and the ownership of the bonds. And the good thing is, the efficiency of trading, it went from T+5 to T+1. Right. And transparency of the trading record and low fee. You can reduce a lot of fee, and it's more sustainable because it's environmental friendly. You save a lot of paper. So that's how we use blockchain, put it into use for existing financial product. That's actually a big usage we can think about in Hong Kong, because we issue hundreds of billions of financial products in Hong Kong every year. So if we tokenize the whole process, it improves the efficiency, transparency, and user friendliness.
Right, so far you've been talking about mainly financial products. Are Web3 also applicable to other sectors?
Yeah, there are many options people are thinking about, like fractionizing artwork. You can actually tokenize future services that you can provide to your clients. Let's say I provide a token where a record you paid for, let's say, future services for, let's say, an artist. You can come to my concert in the future. It's like a digital signature where I recoup the price of my future concerts for the moment. Or it can easily be transferred. There's record and things like that. But we have to prevent the bad actors, because you have to confirm whether the people selling the token has the right to give the service or the product over time in future.
Right. Since you mentioned that, I think all systems must come also with the challenges, or what we call disadvantages. So what are the so-called weaknesses of the Web3?
I think the weakness for now is we doesn't have enough legislation to govern. This happens to all kind of technology. When it first started, people think about all options that can be created with the technology, and then some people, bad actor, will come to misuse the technology itself. And then it comes to a place where you should think about legislation. Like I mentioned, there are many options about tokenization, about leveraging Web3 technology, leveraging blockchain technology into financial products. But then there are also people who think about bad ways of, illegally raising money, etc. And maybe they can also provide some product or services they promise where they cannot deliver.
Right.
So how do we govern people not doing this? So this is the legislation part which should become in place.
Kind of the challenges coming ahead. See, in July this year, our Hong Kong SAR government has created a task force trying to promote its Web3 development. How has that been going on so far in Hong Kong?
I think there has a few meetings in the Web3 committee, and government has actually come up with different committee within the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and also in SFC, also in police, looking into the financial product issues. And there are experts joining committees like this, giving directions, suggestions to government on what we should embrace and how we should do in terms of the legislation side. I think this has been very helpful. It's only a short time. The government actually announced their attitude towards Web3 by the end of 2022. Right. So it's only less than a year. And we get a lot of attention, a lot of good teams from the world, all over the world in Web3 development, blockchains. I think they all came to Hong Kong. I met a lot of those. Right. They're very interested in moving their business and their R&D, their innovations to Hong Kong. So I think a lot of people validate the value of Hong Kong of doing this.
Do you think Hong Kong people are very involved with the Web3 at the moment, or you think it's a thing to come?
I think it's a thing to come, definitely. It takes time. Over time, maybe it's still years away from really materializing the whole industry.
Right. So before the break, I'm going to ask you a very, sensitive question right now to the public. So in June, the Securities and Futures Commission released its guidelines on, for say, cryptocurrency companies. And actually 3 months later, I mean in September, we had the JPEG scandal with like 2,400 reported victims and 1.5 billion in losses. Huge numbers in terms of numbers and money. Do you think the SFC has done enough to protect our investors, or have they failed?
I think the point is before June, before the legislation is in place, there is limitation in SFC doing their work in limiting people in this area. That's why we need the legislation. We need to push this forward. Otherwise, we haven't a clear definition of who should take charge, who's actually doing the governing body in this area of development, and that makes the governing body difficult.
Mm-hmm. Right, Duncan, let's take a break now, but viewers, do stay with us. We will be right back. Thank you for staying with us, and we have been talking with LegCo Rep for the Technology and Innovation constituency, Mr. Duncan Chiu, about Web3 and digital finance and its relevance to us. So, Duncan, before the break, we have just touched on the need for regulations. Yeah. I mean, you said before June, I mean, they only released the guidelines, and then suddenly we had this JPEGs happening in September. Right. Before we go any further, there's also a term that you have mentioned today, is the word blockchain. And I've read it up and say blockchain promises greater transparency, which is a good thing. Yeah. Can you explain briefly what blockchain is to the viewers, and also tell us how it helps in finance and also anti-money laundering exercises?
I think blockchain, we call it a distributed ledger system, is actually a decentralized group of computers that actually record all transactions, all data being created. So it's a transparent and traceable system originally. And of course, a lot of product being created, financial products or technology products being created under blockchain. You can store gaming events, gaming weapons, right? You can also store value products. You can also store things like, by creating NFT, you can put a mark on, let's say, art pieces, etc. So the way of doing blockchain is unlimited. There's a lot of high-frequency transactions, like, let's say, shipping. They've been using blockchain to record a lot of their transactions. So it's a data storing system in blockchain where it provides transparency. And of course, cryptocurrency is also one byproduct of blockchain. And I think people have misconception of cryptocurrency, because some kind of cryptocurrency, by the way, they record the transaction of the currency itself, but then since the trading of it, the buyer and seller can remain anonymous. So that become, the things that, a lot of people think, there's AML problem, there is a transparency problem with Bitcoin, which is against its original propositions. So things have developed. I think the technology will still innovate, and there's a lot of people working on traceability, what we call zero knowledge of transactions, where you can also govern by doing anonymous transaction, but still you have some way to relate to the seller and buyer of the product.
So Duncan, Financial Secretary Paul Chan has called for a proper regulatory framework for the next generation of the internet and blockchain technology. He said balanced regulations are there to protect investors and prevent money laundering, while and still encouraging responsible and sustainable development of the sector. So with that statement, does that mean that the regulations now are not balanced, or at least not sufficiently? What is your view on that?
Well, I totally agree with what you said. One, I think the government made the stance that this, whether it is what we would call digital finance or virtual assets, this asset class is here to stay. Mm-hmm. That's one statement the government made, which I agree. This is going to be a future development of this market. It might go even further bigger in size. And in terms of digital finance I mentioned is a basket of products. And within that, what we mentioned, cryptocurrency is only a small part of that. But even that small part of that, cryptocurrency today valued at about $1 trillion US. And if you look at the stock market of Hong Kong, the total market capitalization of Hong Kong stock market today is $4 trillion US. So if crypto market is already $1 trillion US, it's like 25% of Hong Kong market capitalization of the stock market. So that is a huge market, and you see a lot of people participating in that. But the guideline is still not there.
Right.
There is a global discussions of what asset class they should fall into. The US also took some legal actions against bad actors and operators, platforms. There's a big dispute in the US between the two parties, how to define this asset class, whether it's a commodity, it's a product, or it's a currency. So it is still evolving. The whole thing is evolving. But the thing is, for Hong Kong, if we want to remain as a financial center, we should maybe join the debate and look at how things evolve. And maybe it could be a huge market in the future. Then we should actually be the first to legislate it and let people know, okay, how to do it legally, heavily, and let the technology and the digital asset market grow.
Right. So, as a legislative rep for the TNI constituency, your view is very strong to say that I think the government or even the SFC should regulate this as soon as possible.
Yes.
So that put us in a very favorable position amongst the rest of the world.
Right. I think that also put us in the international stage that, okay, Hong Kong is leveraging financial technology, and with Hong Kong's legal trustworthiness and our legal system, I think it makes sense for us to come out and say, okay, we're legislating it, we look at the products, we vet the products, and we make sure, everything that comes out from Hong Kong is safe.
Right. Just now you mentioned it's worth about $1 trillion US, nearly 1/4 of the market. Yeah. I mean, so there must be some security challenges. How would you suggest this to be mitigated?
As a venture investor for 20 years, one thing I believe is technology is always improving. We cannot use technology today to judge what is going to happen tomorrow. Look at AI, right? ChatGPT come out and things come into a different landscape. Same for blockchain technology, is ever improving. I look at people, a few years back, people look at the cybersecurity problem where there's a lot of hacking that happens in the cryptocurrency area, and things improve a bit. And we have people working in cybersecurity and how to keep the asset safe. Put it into a wallet, cold wallet, hot wallet. I think technology has improved, and I believe if the younger generation, the future generation, think this is a major asset class, there'll be a lot of work put into it. Technology will improve, and the product will only get safer. And together with legislation, that's the work we have to do to govern or maybe bring all the good talents into this place in Hong Kong.
Right, Duncan. While you're very passionate about pushing this technology for Hong Kong, I must say that since the JPEG scandal, the Hong Kong UST has run some surveys. They have found that 12% more of Hong Kong people prefer not to hold virtual assets, and only 20%, previously 25%, said they would like to hold virtual assets in the future. So is this a case like, I would use a description like throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
I think people misuse technology or leverage technology to do crimes all the time. We see scam everywhere, and people now misusing, let's say, A-share stocks or other stocks. And a few years back, you look at the co-investment scheme, where we say crowdfunding. A lot of people also misuse that to do illegal activities. So I think we cannot say when we see one bad actor, we should actually stop the whole development of the industry. But like the study you just had, the research you just had, it shows that the public knowledge of technology, of innovation, and especially of blockchain and digital asset is quite limited. Right. And public education is definitely one thing we have to put more effort into to let people understand what they're buying into. Right,
Duncan, I think what you said is very true. But having said that, someone said this JPEG scandal is a major challenge in Hong Kong, ongoing sort of initiatives to deal with virtual assets. So what can the authorities, including yourself, to regain the trust of the public?
I think we should speed up legislation, one thing, and public education. We definitely have to do more on that, and clarified, the product class, clarified, what financial products should be included in Hong Kong, who can buy what. Some are open for retail investors, some are open for professional investors. Right. We have to speed up the work of that, and maybe in the case of JPEGs, the only lesson we learn is, before we legislate all these, we let people publicly advertise. Right. About what they were doing before government fatting it. So I think that's one thing we have to speed up on.
And one thing I have to bring up the case of JPEGs again, because many local retail investors were attracted through mass media advertisements and were also influenced by social media. So how can the authorities regulate this? This is more than just, you said, the financial world now. How can you regulate all these promotion activities?
I think now with the legislation in place, we should actually only let the licensed platform to be able to provide any advertising. We now have 2 companies licensed under the Virtual Asset Service Provider, or VASP or VATP, Virtual Asset Trading Platform. So these are the licensed people, and the product that they can advertise, or the product that they can provide on their platform are under discussions, and that will further clarify soon in the months to come. And so these are the products where we should all treat as other financial product, complex product, bonds, all other ETFs, etc., that we sell to citizens in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So with that clarification, that actually we can edge out the bad actors and products that are not legal in Hong Kong from being advertised.
Duncan, I'm going to ask you the last question. And the policy address is coming out, and we try to attract talents. As you said, technology is something that we want. Does Hong Kong have enough talent right now to sort of compete with other major players like the Middle East, for example?
Talent is definitely one thing I think is a big challenge to Hong Kong. We can have another episode to discuss that.
Sure.
We definitely have to increase the number of talent we have in the pool in Hong Kong. We have to attract people from outside.
So how can Mr. Lee do that?
Attract education, and all way of getting incentive to get talents into Hong Kong is needed.
All right, okay. Thank you, Duncan, for that eye-opening discussion on Web3 and digital finance. It is clear that this digital finance offers huge potential, but also comes with its fair share of challenges and risks. The importance of government regulation and greater public awareness is essential for responsible investing in this rapidly evolving landscape. This week's quote I'd like to share with you is from Mark Zuckerberg, who said, "The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks." Have a good evening and see you next week.